course, here's what he thinks of black jobs. I love his phrase, black jobs. It tells a lot about the man.
It tells a lot about the man.
That's when he was still trying to fake it. He still thought he had something at that point.
Using the term black jobs, it tells a lot about the man. So let's see here Joe Biden recently.
In just 3.5 years, we've created over 2 million new black jobs for black Americans and black.
Oh, so he caught himself, right?
So Israel killed the top journalist left in Gaza. Israel targets and kills Al Jazeera correspondent Anas al-Sharif in Gaza as journalists told Grow. So they've killed over, they don't just, this isn't like we dropped a bomb and somebody, they target journalists and kill them. It's like, this is like the worst thing you can imagine. And the United States is a partner with this country doing these. They're slaughtering children. They're starving people as a weapon of war. They're dropping bombs on refugee camps. They're bombing hospitals. They flattened every hospital in Gaza, every university in Gaza. And they're targeting children. They shoot them in the head. And they're targeting journalists. They've killed more journalists in Gaza than any other war have been killed. And they're targeted. This isn't an accident. And so I love how they say, this is from the AP. Israel targets and kills Al Jazeera correspondent as journalist toll grows. Find someone who loves you as much as Western media outlets love using the passive voice to describe Israel's war crimes. Oh, the journalist toll is growing.
Got to pay the troll toll.
Yeah,
this boy's soul.
So, so here it is. Another that's him. That's him. Another prominent Palestinian journalist murdered for the crime of reporting Israel's genocide to the world. This is the largest massacre of journalists in history.
Nice.
Remember how they said, remember Jim Acosta screaming about Trump and Trump is an enemy of the free press? Not a word. I don't think Jim Acosta said anything, has he?
No, he was interviewing an AI Parkland boy.
Yeah, I know.
Badly.
I'd say shame on Western journalists who remain silent, but that ship has sailed long ago. Yes, it has. And so,
Wait, Grok got off easy compared to this guy, huh?
But if you look at this picture, most of the journalists in America are going to say he's using his kids as a shield. Glenn Greenwald says Israel has refused to permit international journalists to enter Gaza from the start. The behavior of a state that wants to hide its grotesque atrocities. Brave Gaza's journalists have been showing the world, but Israel is murdering them one by one as it moves fully into Gaza.
Boy, good thing Hitler didn't think to go, hey, you're being anti-Semitic when he was criticized.
It's a good thing.
The ultimate weapon.
So here he is. He posted 45 minutes ago, and now he's dead. Kinetic strike. What that means is most likely they keyed off his cell phone signal, which the IDF. So the IDF tracked him through a cell phone signal, and then they killed him. Mm-hmm. So that's how it works.
That's coming here. Don't worry.
So they claim that he is so just a few days ago, he publicly pleaded for protection, especially after being directly targeted by an incendiary Israeli rhetoric. The spokesperson for the Israeli military used threats against him. Some human rights advocates and press freedom organizations raised the alarm. Yet there was a deafening silence from Western media outlets and journalists. Not a word of solidarity was offered for Anas or the dozens of other Palestinian journalists who have been killed or threatened, journalists who have served as the only window into the reality in Gaza over the past 22 months.
Yeah, they whined about Jamal Khashoggi, the fake journalist, though, didn't they?
Yeah. Instead, Western journalists rushed to embed with Israeli forces, those carrying out a genocidal campaign of annihilation of people in cities, to film curated scenes inside so-called combat zones, or to spotlight pallets of aid staged in military areas, part of a cynical PR display claiming the supplies were simply waiting to be collected. They eagerly attended today's propaganda press conference. So they're talking about Western journalists, but not one of them voiced concern for the safety of Anas or for the lives of the journalists systematically targeted and killed. This silence is not neutrality, it's complicity. These journalists have become tools of a genocidal regime, willingly or otherwise. Shame not only on you, but also on your media organizations and the academic institutions where you studied. Israel murdering Gaza's most prominent journalists tonight is about creating a full blackout ahead of what's coming. The total annihilation of Gaza City and the completion of their genocide. So that's what's actually happening. To be clear, Israel put Anas on a death list with other journalists last year, but he was protected by the size of his platform. They tracked his cell phone, his every move. They could have killed him at any time. They only chose to now because they determined the information blowback from assassinating him would be less than if he were alive to record the invasion of Gaza City. So they'd rather have everybody know that they targeted and killed a journalist than to have that journalist report on what they're about to do in Gaza City.
I'm sure that's going to help. That and Grok, erasing Grok's memory will make everyone forget what you did. I'm sure that's going to work great.
So Israel's defense forces tweeted out that he was Hamas. So that's what everybody's Hamas. Isn't it amazing how everybody's Hamas?
Yeah, the kids are Hamas's.
They said he was the head of a Hamas terrorist cell and advanced rocket attacks on Israeli civilians and IDF troops. Intelligence and documents from Gaza, including rosters, terrorist training lists, and salary records, prove he was a Hamas operative integrated into Al Jazeera. A press badge isn't a shield of terrorism. So there he is, and they say he was Hamas. He's listed in Hamas. When did he do that? In 2013. That's what according to Israel. So here's why you never believe anything that Israel ever says. Why? Because always they're lying. There are no bigger criminal, psychopathic liars in the world than Zionists. And this guy is going to let you know, after murdering Anas al-Sharif and 4 other Al Jazeera journalists in a strike on their tent, Israel claimed Gaza's most prominent journalist of the past 22 months was also moonlighting as a Hamas fighter. So this guy, Mohammed Shihad, shows exactly how much value Israel claims have. So this is why you never believe anything your government ever tells you, and certainly nothing the Israel government says. Listen to this litany of lies that they've lied.
One thing that you need to keep in mind is Israel has been lying incessantly since the beginning of the genocide. It's been the cornerstone of Israel's genocidal campaign to lie every single day about everything possible and to come up with the most lunatic lies possible, imaginable. Israel lied about massacring the ambulance workers in Rafah. They lied about the GHF massacres. They lied about the Shifa hospital, the Flower massacre, the beheaded babies, Hamad hospital, Hind Rajab, the terror list at the Rantisi hospital that turned out to be a calendar, the World Central Kitchen workers, babies in ovens, white phosphorus, deliberately starving Gazans, Sinwar surrounding himself with 20 hostages in a tunnel, gassing hostages, the Ahli hospital, killing women and children with white flags, mass raping Palestinians, non-existent tunnels under graveyards, Nasser hospital, Hussam Abu Safiya, mass graves, snipers targeting kids in the heads, providing protection to criminal gangs that are looting aid systematically. Israel also lied about wiping out Gaza incrementally, gradually. They lied about refusing and collapsing the ceasefire, blowing up Gazans fleeing now south, blowing up and destroying Kamal Adwan hospital, claiming that dead Gazan children are fake plastic dolls, creating alleged safe zones that they push the people into and they bomb them once they get there. They lied about the general's plan. They lied about how many Hamas militants they killed, about the Red Crescent taking part in October 7th. That was another lie. They lied about how many journalists they've killed, and they lied about designating previous journalists as Hamas militants. They lied about Muhammad Abu Salmiya, the head of the Shifa hospital. They lied about the Indonesian hospital, about UNRWA, Al-Auda hospital, killing women sheltering at a church, bombing the church again, bombing another church, destroying every single university in Gaza, destroying the overwhelming majority of schools in Gaza, blowing up Gaza's Turkish cancer hospital, the sole cancer hospital in Gaza. They lied about Hamas hiding giant stockpiles of fuel in Rafah and Hamas looting aid. They lied about finding active smuggling tunnels in Rafah. They lied about hostages that would return pregnant. And they lied about who killed Yussi Sharabi, Itai Sivrisky, and other hostages as well that the IDF themselves killed. And after all these lies, Israel comes up and says, but trust us, our next lie will be 100% true. Trust us. You should attach as much value to Israel's allegations about Anas al-Sharif as you attach to the dust on the floor. Because without lies at this stage, without lies, Israel's narrative dies completely. It's the only way they can sustain the genocide.
Without lies, the Zionist narrative just collapses completely. It's all based on lies. The whole thing, from the beginning of Israel, from the Balfour Declaration to the 1948 to everything.
Yeah, it's a lot like America. I'd hate to see the least moral army in the world after that.
Yep. And so,
shut about Putin forever. Anybody who mentions Putin to me, I'm going to have a conniption.
It's almost like God made them bad at the only thing they do, which is lying.
No, they used to be good at it, but once you get so arrogant, you think you don't have to even have plausible deniability anymore. You're that arrogant, which all these assholes.
Yep.
They're all that arrogant that what you're even still talking about Epstein?
Yeah.
They're that fucking arrogant.
Yep. And so someone put Haliflo put a list of all the lies that he just mentioned, and there they are: massacring ambulance workers, the GHF massacre, the Shifa massacre, the Flower massacre, beheaded babies claim, Hamad hospital attack. It just keeps going on. There they are. Destroying all universities in Gaza, destroying most of... So, they're good at lying. They're very good at lying. Israel's military targeted and killed Al Jazeera correspondent and others with an airstrike late Sunday in Gaza after press advocates said an Israeli smear campaign stepped up when Anas al-Sharif cried on air over starvation in the territory. Both Israel and hospital officials in Gaza both confirmed the deaths of the al-Sharif and his colleagues, which the Committed to Protect Journalists and others described as retribution against those documenting the war in Gaza. Israel's military asserted that the al-Sharif had led a Hamas cell, an allegation that Al Jazeera and al-Sharif previously dismissed as baseless. The military has previously said it targeted individuals it describes as Hamas militants, posing as reporters. Observers have called this the deadliest conflict for journalists in modern times. Who knew that every independent journalist in Gaza also happened to be a Hamas militant, only posing as a reporter? Isn't that something? Officials at Shifa Hospital said those killed while sheltering outside Gaza City's largest hospital complex also included Al Jazeera's correspondent Mohamed Origik, plus 4 other journalists and 2 other people. 5 of the 6 slain journalists were Al Jazeera staffers. The airstrike occurred hours after Israel Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu defended a planned military offensive into some of Gaza's most populated areas, including Gaza City, and said he directed the military to bring in more foreign journalists to Gaza. The strikes came less than a year after Israeli army officials first accused al-Sharif and other Al Jazeera journalists of being members of the militant group Hamas and Islamic Jihad. In a July 24 video, Israel's army spokesperson attacked Al Jazeera and accused al-Sharif of being part of Hamas's military wing. Al-Sharif and his employer denied the allegations as baseless. Condemnation has poured in from the UN Human Rights Office, the Foreign Press Association, the Committee to Protect Journalists, the International Press Institute, and Amnesty International. Al Jazeera called the strike a targeted assassination and accused Israeli officials of incitement connecting al-Sharif's death to allegations that both the network and the correspondent had denied. Anas and his colleagues were among the last remaining voices from within Gaza, providing the world with unfiltered, on-the-ground coverage of the devastating realities endured by its people, the Qatari network said in a statement. Apart from rare invitations to observe Israeli military operations, international media have been barred from entering Gaza for the duration of the war. Al Jazeera is among the few outlets still fielding a big team of reporters inside the besieged strip, chronicling daily life amid airstrikes, hunger, and the rubble-destroyed neighborhoods. Al Jazeera is blocked in Israel, and soldiers raided its offices in the occupied West Bank last year. Israel, at the time, ordered the closure of its local offices while preventing the broadcast of its reports and blocking its websites. The network has suffered heavy losses during the war, including a 27-year-old correspondent, Ismail Al-Ghul, and cameraman Rami Al-Rifi, killed last summer, and freelancer Hassam Shabbat, killed in an Israeli airstrike in March. Like Al-Sharif, Shabbat was among the 6 that Israel accused of being members of a militant group last October. Only a journalist that is a Hamas fighter, or that is, at the time of attack, directly participating in hostilities, can be intentionally targeted. Alerting the world to the starvation of civilians, reporting on Israelis' military conduct in Gaza, even disseminating pro-Hamas propaganda, none of this would count as direct participation in hostilities, said Janina Dill, a professor of global security at a University of Oxford. She added that evidence is mounting that Israel considers anyone who it believes is a Hamas member to be a legitimate target. I do not consider this a reasonable interpretation of international humanitarian law, Dill said. The Committee to Protect Journalists said on Monday that at least 192 journalists have been killed since Israel's war in Gaza began. Sunday's strike brings the total number of Al Jazeera staff journalists killed during the war to 11, not including 8 freelancers. That would be 19. So the UN said that the killings were part of a deliberate strategy of Israel to suppress the truth, obstruct the documentation of international crimes, and bury any possibility of future accountability. In a social media post that Al Jazeera said was written to be posted in case of his death, Al-Sharif bemoaned the devastation and destruction that war had wrought and bid farewell to his wife, his son, and daughter. He began reporting for Al Jazeera a few days after the war broke out. He was known for reporting on Israel's bombardment in northern Gaza and later for the starvation gripping much of the territory's population. In a July broadcast, Al-Sharif cried on air as a woman behind him collapsed from hunger. I'm talking about slow death of those people, he said at the time. Anas al-Sharif and his colleagues have been the eyes and voices of Gaza. Starved and exhausted, they continued to bravely report from the front lines, despite death threats and immense grief, Amnesty International said in a statement Monday, adding that there must be an independent, impartial investigation into the killings of Palestinian journalists. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, I would stay away from this one, guys. I'll be the
Yeah.
I'll be the chief. You don't want a piece of this investigation.
No. So there you go. And if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And if you want to hear my jokes about this horrible genocide machine called Zionist Israel, you can come see me in Rutherford, New Jersey, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Appleton, Wisconsin, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Louisville, and Chicago, Illinois. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph.
Nice, Jimmy. That was nice. Just want world peace. Darn, I missed my own super chat. Chicago was counting on Infinity COVID money to pay for the deficit since they sold off everything else. Need a promotion? Soon to be many career opportunities located around the Gaza Strip. Giraffe. All right, let's see what else I got going here. Oh. All right, I got nothing. Jimmy, you ready? What's this one? Oh. Okay. Hey, you want to come and check out some of our shows? Go to jimmydore.com. Go to tour, and you'll see all of our shows linked there. Back to Mr. Jim.